Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the Mindset-Conquest Podcast, where every week I'll be joined by a special guest who will be sharing what they've experienced as the biggest failure in their life, but most importantly, the lessons that they've learned from that experience. I'll be spending time with people that I've met throughout my life's journey in business, music, and sport. And the goal is to provide listeners like yourselves with the motivation needed to get through all of life's challenges and learn not to be afraid of failure, but rather to embrace it. Please like and subscribe and enjoy this episode. I'm Chris Atwell. On today's episode, I'm joined by Sean Ciampaglia. Sean is the vice president at Geoscape Contracting, and he's also the co-founder of ContractComplete. He spent the last 15 years of his career in the commercial landscaping business. Prior to that, he studied mechanical engineering at the University of Toronto. He's an avid Crossfitter, and he's the father to his wonderful daughter, Ava. Welcome to the Mindset-Conquest Podcast. I've got a very special guest with me today, Sean Ciampaglia. Sean, how you doing?
Doing great. Chris, how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate your time. Why don't we start with you sharing a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what do you do for a living, all the good stuff.
Chris, thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. Well, let's start with where I'm from. I'm born and bred in Markham, Ontario, just on the border of Stouffville and Markham. I'm a father, first and foremost, to a beautiful baby girl. She's turning 6 in April.
Wow.
And I'm an avid CrossFitter, as you know. I train a lot together, and I love that about our relationship. And I'm also a business owner. I run a landscape company with my father. We service large developments all around the GTA. And we have about 50 employees, depending on the time of year.
Yeah, I've seen your operation there. It's pretty impressive. You got quite the nursery of trees, and I notice your vehicles, branded vehicles, all over the Greater Toronto area, working on some significant projects. And the coolest thing about his business, folks, is that as much as they service the landscaping business, they also have an incredible gym in their warehouse. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about, your CrossFit love and the gym that you built for yourself and your employees?
Well, I've been doing CrossFit for almost 10 years now, on and off. And when COVID hit, obviously a lot of the gyms closed down. So my dad and I thought, let's take up one of the bays. We have 5 bays in our warehouse. Take up one of the bays and build a gym for our staff, for ourselves, and slowly that crept to 1.5 bays, and now it's 2 bays. So, it's open to all of our staff. They can use it before and after work, and obviously, I'm privileged to use it myself for all of my training requirements. So, I'm definitely blessed to have that.
And I'm sure your employees appreciate it as well. I've actually seen your dad make use of it and a bunch of his friends. And I've seen some great progress with some people over COVID. One of your dad's buddies apparently lost quite a bit of weight by working out regularly in your gym.
Yeah, he started about 12 months ago, and he has lost over 60 pounds.
That's incredible.
He's been coming 3 times a week consistently, and good for him. I'm so proud of him. He's a totally different person now.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about your employees? How many people take advantage of, like you say, a privilege, a benefit like that?
So we have a personal trainer coming in and running classes twice a week. Wow. And about 6, depending on the day, 6 to 8 different staff members that take part in those classes. Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to train there. Thank you very much for having me over on multiple occasions, but it's not very often that organizations invest in fitness facilities in their workplace. And I've always wished that, I had access to something like that in companies that I've worked for. So kudos to you. I think that's an incredible initiative. And obviously it's having a real good impact on people's lives. So you run this landscaping company. You've got 50 employees. You're from Markham, born and bred. What brought you into the landscaping business?
That's a good question. After my second year university in the summer, my mom says to me, I think you should go work for your dad. He's got a thriving business in landscaping and, maybe you want to go try it out. And I said, what? Really? You want me to stop working for you? Like, I thought we had a good thing going here. And she says, yeah, I think, I think that would be a great experience for you. So on my first day with my dad, we were doing a street tree job just down the road in Cornell. Mm-hmm. And we had 78 trees to plant. And that just blew my mind. 78 trees in one day was just unheard of for me. Before that, I was doing backyard jobs, doing about 4 or 5 trees a day by hand with wheelbarrows.
Right.
And I was just blown away and excited at the opportunity to be part of something bigger. And so I started as a laborer, machine operator, slowly started running my own jobs a couple of years in, and then eventually got introduced to a larger aspect of it in terms of project management, operation management. And now my dad and I run the company together.
Congratulations. That's an excellent career trajectory. I love it when people prove themselves within an organization. They start at the bottom, basically. You did that as a laborer. You learn the ropes from the ground up, slowly take on more responsibility, get delegated projects and tasks, prove yourself along the way, and then work your way up to leadership. That's the way it should be done, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So now you're running this business. I'm going to ask you a question because I'm assuming, it's going to line up with your answer. But, the premise of this podcast is around talking about what you consider to be your biggest failure and the lessons that you pulled from it. And I ask that question every single time because I truly believe that we should embrace failure. We shouldn't fear it. As much as we don't like it, it's a genuine part of our growth process, and it's the only way that we're going to find success. So, Sean, what do you consider to be your biggest failure?
I would say selling my Tesla stock. Now, if you're talking about business-wise, I'm a strong advocate for believing that if you learn something from a failure, it's not considered as a failure. Mm-hmm. It considered a life lesson. So I can't pinpoint my biggest failure to one occurrence, but I mean, as someone who just came out of university, I took mechanical engineering. I didn't take business classes. I didn't take leadership classes. As someone who just got pushed into a management role, I didn't really know what I was doing, right? So over the years, the biggest impact on the business seemed to be when I didn't have the right people in the right positions, and especially people in management roles, and especially people that may be a little conniving or manipulative. And so, really fishing for that, for really digging deep and looking for individuals that are going to represent your company core values honestly and with integrity is of utmost importance as a business owner. And there's really not an easy way to learn those skills. Mm-hmm. Except just making those mistakes and living through them and identifying different red flags along the way.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is you climb the ladder into a management role. within this business that you're now championing. And along the way, you're learning how to manage people. You're learning how to deal with individual personalities and discovering who's the right fit for certain leadership roles under you. And sometimes maybe those people weren't the right fit and you didn't necessarily make the right choices around how to handle them. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what did you learn out of that? What do you do differently now?
So first and foremost, hire slowly and fire quickly. So we take our interview steps our interview process has gone from maybe 1 to 2 interviews to 3, 4, and involving a skills test. We've also used assessments that can determine a job fit for the role, which helped quite a bit, as well as something that we realized last year was the most important factor in the success in our business, for whatever reason, is a high level of self-awareness. Now, if you can find a tool or an assessment to measure self-awareness, it is extremely a high indicator of success in certain organizations. For us, we just found that people with high self-awareness are able to self-reflect and really acknowledge when they can be accountable to their actions, and they can realize when they're at fault, as well as they seem to be okay with imperfections in the organization, and then they bring it to you and say, hey, by the way, maybe this is something that we can improve because I feel this way, or this made me feel that way.
That's a great point. I think self-awareness in any organization is a skill or a trait that we should all look for in our employees. I would agree with you that if you have somebody who isn't self-aware, okay, and they're successful at first, they're patting themselves on the back, they're taking all the credit, they're not, they're a little bit egotistical, I guess is the way to put it.
Absolutely. Yep.
But as soon as they make a mistake or a challenge happens or something isn't going their way, they pass blame. It's not their fault. They're not supported. It's not me. That kind of response is very toxic.
Absolutely.
It can cause a lot of problems between management and the employee, morale amongst the rest of the team, and camaraderie and cooperation. So I would agree that self-awareness is definitely a strength. I like what you said about bringing things to the organization, new ideas, improvement suggestions. That's looking out for the better of the overall team, the overall organization, not just for themselves. And I think somebody who's self-aware is open to that kind of thinking. They're not so self-centered, I guess. Self-awareness kind of scratches out and eliminates self-centrism.
Yes. So one of the most important questions we ask and we listen for their response in the interview process is, tell me about your colleagues. What frustrated you about them? And then if they're very open and like, oh yeah, so-and-so did this and so-and-so, and they would never do that. And my previous boss, he would never really be accountable to immediate. No, thank you. I know where this is going. Like I've heard it before. I mean, I'm not going to stand up and walk away. I'll be polite, but that is a complete red flag in every way. History repeats itself. It's going to happen again. in our organization if that person comes on board. And we've made exceptions. We're like, well, I know that's a red flag, but he's got so many other credentials and so much other experience. Maybe it's going to work out here. Never does. It never does. There's always something that comes up over time. And then when you try to have those conversations about accountability, it's always somebody else's fault. Or they pretend like, yeah. But in the back of their mind, they're like, yeah, it is so difficult. So difficult.
Yeah, it's much better hiring somebody up front who has those self-awareness skills, who is willing to hold themselves accountable, and they can demonstrate it immediately in the interview. That'll give you a level of confidence that, hey, maybe this guy's the right fit, versus the resume. They got all of the experience that we're looking for, but, on my character test here, they're coming off as not so self-aware, maybe a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for, where they pass blame all the time, but you're right. Your hope is that you're going to be able to change them, that you're going to be able to coach them out of that mentality because you want all those skills. But then at the same time, you end up trapped because you hire them and then you're dealing with this, thing that you don't want to have to deal with. And then you spend all your time trying to coach them out of it instead of coaching them on building the skills that'll help them do their job effectively rather than changing their personality. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. I like that. You'll have to share some more about those interview questions. What other questions do you ask that you can share that kind of leads you towards the right person?
Well, definitely whenever they've encountered some kind of problem and how they've dealt with it. If there's not a lot of detail in the solution, it usually wasn't their solution. But if they can recollect the exact process that they went through to find the outcome and the positive outcome, then they usually have come up with the positive outcome themselves.
Yeah, those who seek to find solutions and solve problems typically are more self-aware right off the bat, right? Because they're not going, well, that's not my problem. That's somebody else's. They're saying, hey, let's figure out how we can solve this and make it work. Very cool.
Yeah, there's also another tool that we use. We've used a number of assessments, but the ones that we're using now, it's called People Best. Okay. And they measure job fit, but deep down inside the report, there is a self-awareness number, and it's out of 100. And I would say 90% of Geoscape employees have a 90 plus self-awareness.
Excellent.
And that was the one common factor between all employees. It's astonishing.
The ones that you work well with that are still with the company.
That's right.
Yeah. And then you can kind of set a threshold that, for us to be part of this team, we need people who meet this particular skill set. Everybody can be individuals in their own way, and we want to have diversity and include everyone. But that's a metric that is important. Yeah. Very cool. So that sounds like that's some of the resources now that you use. Were you using those prior, or are these kind of all new sort of tools and assessments that you're applying now?
So this software we're using across the board for every position. Before, we were only using them for management positions.
Oh, okay.
But this is a more affordable solution that we can use across the board. Yeah.
Excellent. So that helped you along the way now in making the right choices when you're hiring people. What other resource? What are kind of the best resources? Say somebody, you're talking to somebody who's in a similar situation as you. They're running a business. It's private. They're dealing with some people who, they want to keep around because of all their skills, but they're not necessarily a good company fit, and they were quick to hire, not necessarily. They're not sure if they want to fire. What what resources would you recommend somebody like that use, or what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, depending on your educational background, most of us haven't done management training or leadership training. And so one of the things that we did, within 3-4 years of me starting on at Geoscape, is we hired a management coach and a leadership coach. And we invested quite a bit of time and resources, company time as well as money, into this facility and into this coach. And he taught us everything from interviewing skills to handling difficult conversations, handling conflict, leading from the front, just having check-ins with individuals, the importance of job descriptions. Like, we didn't have job descriptions before. Like, we had to start from the start, like from the beginning. And so if you don't have all of that structure in place and you don't have all that formal training yourself, I would definitely invest in a coach. Obviously, there's millions of books out there. And one book that also resonated with me a lot was Mastering the Rockefeller Habits by Vern Harnish.
Okay.
I highly recommend it. After reading that book, we sat down as a group and we nailed down our 7 core values. And every business decision after that was based on our core values. And so even monthly recognition, that we have a monthly hero of the month. And, we explain to the staff why they're the hero of the month, and it's based around the core values. Our performance reviews based around the core values. Our hiring decisions based around our core values.
Right.
And so that was one of the main premises of the book. Obviously, there's a lot more. They talk about having a meeting rhythms. So we set up weekly management meetings, production meetings with our key staff. And then they also talk about bi-weekly individual meetings with your direct reports. And some of those are some of the resources that I would highly recommend business owners would tap into.
I'll have to grab that book. I truly believe that you can, if you've got the right set of values pinned down, you take the time and you do a full assessment around what's important to you as an individual, what's important for your community, what's important for your business, who are you? What I mean? You can write down a set of core values that you can use as a guide, a guiding light through any decision-making process that you encounter, not only at work, but you can have your own personal values as well in life.
Yeah.
And I like that process. I've helped countless people with my coaching program establish their own values in their business. And 7 of them, I agree. A little trick that I started applying is, what are the 2 core values out of those 7 that you can quickly refer to anytime, rather than having to check the box on all 7? Simplify it. What are the 2 core values out of the 7 that, if you're in a situation where you have to make a quick decision, can guide you through that decision-making process? So just drilling it down.
I'll tell you what our 2 at the Geoscape would be.
What's that?
Exceeding expectations and succeeding together.
Amazing. So you already know what the 2 are.
Just
right?
off the top.
Yeah, because they're the core. They're the ones that lead the other values. So I love it. Thanks for sharing that. What, who would be kind of the 3 most influential people in Sean's life?
That's a tough one. I mean, I was blessed to have, extremely hardworking mom and dad. They've provided me with more than enough in my life, but also great mentorship in terms of what it takes to run businesses and how hard you have to work. My mom she had a nursery, like I said, she would work 80 days in a row during the busy season of the nursery business.
Every day.
She wouldn't take any time off.
Wow.
80 days from beginning of May to end of July. Every day she was there. And she taught me how to treat staff with respect and how to like, everybody loved her. So she was a tremendous role model for me. My dad also worked his butt off his whole life. I mean, showed me the ins and outs of the landscape business, showed me how to manage large projects. I wouldn't be the man I am today without his guidance and his mentorship. And then the third, I mentioned my management coach, Andrew Wall, earlier. I mean, I didn't know what I didn't know. So, and he took it easy on me. He didn't make me feel bad along the way. He just kept teaching me something new every month. And it was a 3-year program, and I kept going month after month, and I learned something new every month that I went.
Wow.
And whether it's, like I said, hiring, training, keeping people accountable, self-awareness, there's so much that I learned from him, and I also wouldn't be the manager that I am today without him. So definitely grateful.
Wonderful. So you've got a lot on your plate with this business, and I truly believe that self-development is important. Sounds like you're doing that with Andrew, but one of the most impactful things individuals can do to create success for themselves is adopt healthy habits, good habits that they can implement on a regular basis to help moving up in chunks towards their dream life, their goals and objectives, their purpose. I'm curious, what are some of the good habits that you practice, and why do you practice those?
So first and foremost, if I'm not the best version of myself, I won't be, I won't do any good service to the others around me. So, I practice, fitness 4 times a week, most weeks. I try to stay healthy that way. Obviously, keep a healthy brain, eat healthy. I practice meditation and stretching 4 or 5 times a week, as well as I constantly look for whether it's online resources or ebooks to just keep my mind active. Mm-hmm. And then in the business, like I said earlier, just keeping some meeting rhythms to just stay close with your staff, stay connected, giving them time to vent or just brainstorm one-on-one. And then something interesting that we do in our weekly meetings is once we read Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, we started doing something called a positivity boost. So at the beginning of each weekly meeting, everybody goes around the table and they mention one positive thing that happened in their life, their personal life, and one positive thing that happened at work. Nice. Because, if you just go through your life just doing the day-to-day and not reminisce on the positive things, because there are good things and obviously there are stressful things that happen at work. Mm-hmm. But it's just taking that 10 to 15 minutes as a team to uncover and share all of the good things that have happened around us. Maybe somebody did something special, or a project went without a hitch and you hit a deadline, whatever it may be. Just focus. Have that 15 minutes per week just to focus on the positives.
Super powerful team kind of approach at habitual routines, because everybody's involved. Everybody has something good to say. Everybody feeds off each other's good energy. One of my mentors, Patrice de Rochette, he owns 4 different pharmacies on the South Shore of Montreal now, but he used to be the national sales director for the national sales team at Purolator out of Montreal when I was there. And when I joined that team back in 2008, he put us in a team meeting, and he did a weekly Friday team meetings in the mornings. And the first thing he would say was, what was everybody's success, your big win for the week? And we would all go around and share it. What he added was, what was your biggest challenge this week? And what he was trying to spark, and what he successfully managed to do, was have everybody talk about their challenges, but it would spark a problem-solving session, a brainstorming session amongst the team members to discuss potential solutions to get through the challenges. And I thought that was really cool.
Awesome.
So I've continued to apply that, and I truly believe in the positivity circle approach. I think that's amazing. Good call. Thank you for sharing that. Love the fitness piece too. I'm big on that. So
of course.
Right on. Well, our time's up here, Sean. Thank you so much for joining me, sharing your story. I'm wishing you continued success in your business, in your personal life, and your fitness journey. Sounds like you guys have an incredible business. I know I hear nothing but good things about Geoscape all across the GTA, and I see you guys everywhere. So keep doing the good work. Keep hiring good people that are self-aware and are contributing to the community. Before we wrap this up, I'm just curious, where can our listeners connect with you online?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. You can search my name, Sean Ciampaglia, on LinkedIn. Or if you're interested in checking out what Geoscape Contracting does, we have a fairly active Instagram account at Geoscape Contracting. So check us out there and send us some messages. Connect with us.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for your time, and you take care of yourself, okay?
Thanks for having me on, Chris.
My pleasure. Cheers.
Take care, man.